Welcome into NHL Tonight, first shift for Wednesday, January the 22nd, 2025. EJ Hradek here alongside our correspondent from the snowy south.
Yes.
Bill Lindsay.
Snowing in Florida.
9 inches of snow in Pensacola, Florida.
Yeah.
Now, you live
in
South Florida.
Gainesville, yeah. South Florida, I don't believe it's ever.
Yeah,
I
you're
think
good.
Tampa at one time, but I'm not sure Miami or Fort Lauderdale have experienced.
You're good.
Good.
You're good. But
I grew up in the snow in Canada, so I can never leave my roots.
Yeah.
When I come out to cold weather,
Although,
I have to embrace it.
It's so funny because you've been in Florida so long. I've been with you in cold weather situations. Like if it's like 40 degrees, you're freezing now. So
Yes.
you get a little older. I get it.
I get into cold booths and have to call games sometimes.
I get it. No question.
Like the kid from the Christmas Story.
There you go. That happens. I understand. I get cold too, and I'm from the Northeast. Let's just get right to first things first.
Let's
all right?
go.
We had some interesting action last night around the National Hockey League. Let's start with the Rangers. I mean, a couple weeks ago, you literally just torched them. You did I think it was a 45-minute tape on how bad. They had 2 commercials. They had to blow through the commercials, like on how bad they were defensively, and you were bang on about everything. Apparently, they paid attention because they're 6-0-3 in their last 9, and they had a 5-0 victory against the Ottawa Senators. You saw some of the highlights there last night. Here are the numbers over the last 9, Mr. Lindsay. I mean, what are you seeing? They've obviously tightened it up.
They have tightened it up. When I went through that tape, it was swinging, not a lot of communication. It was bad, but Peter Laviolette knows how to regroup. It had to be commitment from the players on the ice. Simple fixes. Stop and start in your own end. Basic communication. Make life easier for a goaltender. The previous 21 games, they were getting slaughtered in the slot. Last 9 games, they've cleaned that up. And you are starting to see this Ranger team, they can score. It's enough. They had 5 different goal scorers last night, including Matt Rempe. So
yes.
let's get it going. From New York Rangers, they can turn it around. And Shesterkin back-to-back shutouts. Why? Well, last night's game against Ottawa, they had 2 shots on net from the inner slot, did the Senators, and 4 shots from the slot. You do that against Igor Shesterkin?
No chance.
Yeah, you're not going to have a chance. Shesterkin, they were just getting blistered. Now they're collapsing down in front of their goaltender, protecting the front of the net. It's more determination. It's just more effort. It takes effort to play defense.
Yeah.
I guess that's the basic message, is to get back. Let's play defense. Got a couple power play goals last night. That's important. Everyone can build confidence off that power play.
Playing with the lead helps, right?
Yeah, you know how much, they built off that confidence and that power play last year, how much it meant to them.
Oh, big time.
Players, Zibanejad, players like that, get a cookie, a second assist on the power play. All of a sudden, okay. Yeah, and everything starts
feeling a little better.
Snowball in the right direction. But everything in this league starts with defense. Like if you can play with that defensive structure, and they were just giving up way too much from the house, and they figured it out. Now they have to sustain it. Because of that losing streak and everything that happened, they're on the cusp, right? They're battling with a ton of teams in this parity that's going around the NHL, which is amazing to watch with all these teams in contention.
All kinds of crazy teams in the mix in the East.
If you look at all the teams in the East, EJ, and you pick them out, the Rangers, coming off that President's Trophy last year, they have to be considered still a front runner to get one of those spots.
Well, I mean, let's face it. Like you said, I mean, we thought going into the year that they were going to, no doubt, they'd be a playoff team. They were going to figure that out, and it's been a struggle, but they are playing better lately. And in particular, think about these last stretch of games. Saturday against the Columbus Blue Jackets, they win 1-0 shootout. Mm-hmm. And then they lose in overtime to Montreal.
That was a great game.
And then they beat Ottawa. Those 3 games, right? Yeah. Those are all the teams that are around them. And they got the Philadelphia Flyers coming up next. I mean, these are all the games where you're trying to gain points and kind of move yourself up and push the other teams down. So it's a very, very important stretch, as I say, that continues tomorrow night against the Flyers.
It's an important stretch. And one thing coming out in New York is the lack of noise.
Yeah.
Remember Trouba. Yeah. Okay, well, Trouba's gone. And then
Ryder.
And then
healthy
Kakko,
scratch.
Ryder, everything.
Yeah, trade Kakko. Goalie's hurt.
So
GM's in peril.
You're not hearing that.
Yeah.
It's calmed down.
Well, you know what it is? When teams play better and they start having success and winning, that stuff does kind of go by the wayside, correct?
That's the way that it should be with this New York. Let them play hockey. 82 games is a grind, and you're going to go through some ups and downs. Maybe that adversity is the best thing that ever could have happened for them.
Could help them.
Yeah, down the stretch.
Could help them.
When you go through that turmoil and in that dressing room, and everyone in the dressing room says, oh, this is it, guys. This is on us. Forget about everything, the crap that's happening around us. Let's insulate the locker room.
Yeah.
We got each other's backs. Who cares what anyone's writing, what anyone's saying? Let's go out, prove to our coach, our fan base, and most importantly, our team that we are still one of the best.
Let's not worry about how many memos the GM is sending out trying to trade all of us away. Let's play for each other. Because at the end of the day,
we have to.
You have that's you only do. And Zibanejad has been playing better, and I've been on here. I've been critical of him because we have to give our honest opinions.
Yes.
Zamika is a high-end player. The last several months, it's been a downward spiral. Playing a little bit better now. So players, I always feel like they get better, they get worse all the time. He's playing better. That's a part of this as well, gaining confidence. It helps the Rangers. So we'll see how they look moving forward. Again, they got the Flyers on Thursday night. How about the Montreal Canadiens?
Huh.
What a story. The Canadiens, nobody thought they were going anywhere. I remember like in November, all the stories, Marty St. Louis, maybe it's the expiration date, got to get somebody else. All of a sudden, the Canadiens have turned it around. They come from behind to beat Tampa last night. Your boy, Jake Evans, scores the game winner.
I like Jake Evans.
I know, there he is. Jake Evans. You're a Jake Evans fan.
But they got all kinds of production up and down the lineup.
Well, they're getting it now, and they're getting good goaltending from Montemo and then Dobish. This guy came out of nowhere.
I saw his first game. He shut out the Panthers.
There you go. He's 6 for 6 so far with wins. But look at the Canadiens sitting in a playoff spot right now.
And who would have thought? The Canadiens, if you looked at the schedule that they did this with, they beat the last 4 Stanley Cup champions. A lot of it was done on the road. If you were going in Montreal in their standings and you looked at their upcoming schedule when they go on this 13-3-1 tear that they're going on, you probably would have said, okay, this is where they go.
There's a loss.
This is where they go 3-13-1
Yeah.
and just bury themselves at the bottom of the standings to get through it, not only with that record, but the teams that they've been able to beat. Vegas, Colorado, Florida, Tampa, New York Rangers. You just keep going.
I mean, look at that. 10 comeback wins.
And there's that belief. When you're coming from behind, and a sudden, we saw it in the Ranger game, they never had a lead until the overtime.
That's right.
And
they kept fighting. They kept believing.
Come back. You're down 2-0 early to Tampa Bay, and they got
against Vasilevsky.
But they got the power play goal.
Yeah.
Did you see the next 2 shifts after that? It was just wave after wave. First shift, all kinds of pressure. Second shift, they came out, and Newhook scores the tying goal.
Yeah.
It just took one, a light of fire. And if you're disgruntled and you fall behind, everyone just kind of sags on that bench.
Yeah.
Everyone just, they percolate. They know they got the depth. And just credit to Marty St. Louis and this staff. And they're in the hunt. And if you can beat all the teams that they have beaten during this stretch, that's legitimate.
You got to believe, right?
You have to believe. And how about Jake Evans? Lane Hudson?
Yeah.
Not going to celebrate, there's a lot of talk, but Lane Hudson at this point, he's
your guy?
Yes.
Is he your vote?
Yes.
The Calder?
He's riding a 9-game point streak. 12 points in that span on the back end. Their defensemen, Caden Goulet, Matheson, and you had Hudson to that mix. They're all one-man breakouts.
Yeah, they can move it.
They can go. They can get out of the zone. And don't forget about Patrik Laine in this.
Yeah. He's come back, and it's kind of really around the same time that he came back in the lineup that they kind of start to take off and had the great overtime goal against the Rangers. He's been scoring from that Ovi spot.
11 goals, or 9 of them have to come right from that one. I'd love to see a heat map of his goals.
Yeah.
Pretty
intense.
You could put running shoes on and score the 10 goals, but it's an elite one-timer. So Patrik Laine, that's a good deal. They took a risk on him. The problems, everything going on in Columbus, got him not very little.
Hey, listen, I'm happy for Patrick because, he's had, he started his career in Winnipeg. There was some issues there. He goes to Columbus. He had some health issues. He had the passing of his dad, which was kind of would shake up anybody, and, is still a very young guy. And then, gets injured in preseason this year. So I'm really happy for Patrik Laine. He's a personality. He's an interesting character to watch, and he's got great talent. So the Canadiens, with the goaltending now, playing well.
And it's good for the league when the Montreal Canadiens.
Yeah. The Bell Center. You got to pull over.
Yeah, it was a Montreal Canadian
sweater. That's got to be pretty cool. I mean,
it is. It's when you walk in that dressing room for the first time.
Yeah.
Yeah, you feel it.
Yeah.
There's just that aura that surrounds Montreal. It's a special place
And
to
even,
play.
like-
There's no way to get around it.
And even the Bell Center, it's still it's a great building to play in. There's a lot of passion there. Like, obviously, for the guys who are a little older, like myself, I remember the Montreal Forum.
I played in the Montreal Forum.
I got to skate in there one time in a media thing, and like the thing I noticed, the boards were high.
Yes.
And they were like oak.
Yeah.
Like they were in the ground there. I don't
You were
imagine it would have
moving.
been fun to get hit into the boards at the old Forum.
No, the old Forum. To go into there into play, I scored on Patrick Waugh in the Forum.
Wow.
That was one of my dream goals. Got in
for
there.
you.
Yeah, so that was,
for you.
it was always fun to go back in. And when I really still first started, there was still smoking in the building.
Okay.
In the Montreal Forum. So you go on the ice and there's be this
Little cloud.
halo of smoke on there.
Yeah, a little different
What's
now.
going on here? And the penalty box didn't have any glass in front of it.
Yeah.
At the time, it just had there's still boards, and you just walked into the penalty box.
Yeah.
It was,
Pretty
but
cool place.
And you remember always, of course, before the Patrick Waugh incident, where
Yeah.
the ownership and everything
Walked
sat
right over
behind
there.
the bench,
Yep.
and we had full access to the coaches here and everything. That was a sight to be seen. One of the greatest franchise that we've had in this sport.
Yeah, so the Canadians are hot, rolling along right now, and as we sit here today, they're in the playoffs. We'll see if they can keep it moving. We got 4 games on the slate tonight, and I will argue that this is a really good schedule of 4 games when you think about it. You got the Bruins and Devils. Now, the Devils have been slumping.
Argue? What are you arguing about?
Well, I'm just saying, it's a great slate.
Just
The
say it
Devils, 2-6-3 in their last 11, and 0-2-2 in their last 4. So they got to get together tonight. Jacques Lemaire being honored by the Devils tonight goes into their, I guess, ring of honor, so to speak,
Yep.
there. So congratulations. We got it right here for you on the NHL Network tonight. So congratulations to Jacques Lemaire, one of the great coaches in the history of this game, one of the great players as well, part of that Montreal Canadian team in the 70s. You got the Jackets and the Leafs at 7:30. That's a good one with the Jackets playing so well. Leafs at the top of the Atlantic. You got the Jets and the Avalanche, a good battle there in the Central. And then Billy Lindsay and his Florida Panthers, he will be flying right out to LA after the show today.
Check it out.
To get right out there for the Panthers and Kings. That one's on TNT. Let's talk about the Leafs and the Jackets, though, because Jackets have been such a great story this year, right? I mean, they have been playing hard night after night after night, scoring more than we thought they would score. And they take on a Toronto team tonight, as I said, sitting in first place in the division. Had a little bit of a bump in the road like last week and kind of got back on track. I guess I'll start with the Jackets because it's got to be just so surprising that this team has really responded this way.
Yeah, there's surprises in the roster. Marchenko, what he's done. Voronkov, Fantilli's starting to come along.
They had guys, right? We saw the guys. We thought they were they've had some good moments, but they weren't able to be consistently good as a group, but they're finding their way.
But here's Dean Evison and the coach, and they can score. Would you rather be able to have a team that can't score at all and be decent defensively, or have a team that can score and light it up and just be marginal defensively? That's what Columbus is. They can light up the score sheet. And Zach Werenski, he's my Norris favorite at this point.
Yeah.
They got to be better on the road. They're phenomenal at home.
Yeah.
At the road, this is a big test. If you want to get in the playoffs, you got to go into buildings like Toronto and get wins. You can't continue to stumble and just rely on your home record if you're Columbus. But
if you're going to make the playoffs,
everyone's
right? You got to get some wins.
Everyone's second favorite team in the NHL. I know they're mine at this time with the Gaudreau brothers and the incident that happened and everything. And, Monahan playing with Gaudreau in Calgary, and they're good friends. They lived right down the street in Columbus. They were planning on raising their kids together. There's so much going. And don't forget about Monahan this season that he's been able to have. So it's an impressive group. If they're going to get forward and get into the playoffs, they've got a chance, but it has to start with winning some road games here down the stretch.
Just 6-13-4 on the road. They're in Toronto, and then they're in Carolina tomorrow night. So a real test for the Jackets. And
this is where the rubber meets the road.
Yeah.
When you start playing these teams on the road.
It's funny because you mentioned Fantilli, right? He's playing back home in Toronto. Apparently, he's had to buy 1 million tickets. I think he's got here's the tweet from Luke Fox. Adam Fantilli says he'll have 70 friends and family members in the barn for Leafs Jackets tonight, paying to play. And Billy, as a former player, how many tickets do you get? You get 2?
No.
You get none?
You get none.
You're really on the road. You can't just get 2.
So you bring it out. I don't know if it's the same.
He's getting his wallet out.
But your PR guy or whoever that you work with, and you need tickets on the road. The home team, with Toronto in this case, set so many seats aside for the visiting team.
Okay.
But none of them are for free.
Oh, Really?
And so you can request as many tickets as you want, and you'll have to write it down. And here,
Is your credit card? Well, I'll
you
take that
give
right
it out,
now. Yeah.
and you give it out. And they just put it and they charge the tickets. I'm not sure. We did get a discount. We didn't have
That's
to.
nice.
Which
Players.
is nice.
I mean, you are the product.
But you do not get one single ticket for free. When I played, and I believe it's the same now when you're on the road, you're not getting compensated by the other team. And when he says playing for free with 70, let's say.
If it's $100 a throw,
Yeah,
because he's not buying in the last row. You're not
no,
going to,
minimum. I would say probably $250 a throw. So
yeah, a little discount. I mean, boy, that's a lot of money.
You're looking around. You're
a lot of money.
Some significant change, but that's the way it works. You get no freebies on the road.
Yeah, that is a lot of money. Wow. Well, it'll be an interesting night there for Fantilli and his many, many friends and family in Toronto.
Hope he scores.
The Jackets. I may get 2 for that kind of money for the Jackets and the Leafs. That's tonight. Coming up, our old buddy, the coach, Dan Biles, was going to join the show. I like it when we get former NHL Network employees joining us, but Dan doing a nice job as back in the league with Seattle. He'll join us next on First Shift. Well, the Seattle Kraken playing pretty well of late. You can see 3-1 in the last 4. And putting up some goals, keeping the puck out of the net. And with that, we bring in their head coach, former colleague here at the NHL Network. I think we did a prospects game together years ago. I was just talking to Steve Mears today, or yesterday. It's his birthday today, so happy birthday to Steve Mears, another Bowling Green Falcon like yourself. So,
thank you, Steve. Green Falcons, yes.
There you go. But, yeah, I mean, like, it's nice to have you back. I see you're moved up in the world. You're back coaching again, so you're not stuck here sitting with us in Secaucus. But, I'm glad you could take some time for us today. Why? We just put up the numbers, 3-1 in the last 4. What's been going right over these last couple?
With 60-minute games, I think we've been a team that has struggled with consistency, both game to game and within a game. Throughout the first part of the year, and even it's 3-1 and 3-1, but that even the one against Winnipeg was what we think is one of our better games against a good team. Got a bounce at the end of the game. They scored with 30 seconds left, but over the past 4 games, 5 games, we've seen a good, hard, consistent effort from our team for 60 minutes.
And Dan, when any coach comes in the NHL, they want to establish an identity with their team, their DNA. Where are you at in that process, and how close are you to feeling that, okay, we're getting to what I want to bring to the table here with this Kraken club?
It's I would just give evidence of the last 5 games in particular to say we're getting closer and closer to that. I mean, you can't talk about the Kraken without saying you're a skating team, a pressure team. When this team has had success in the past, it's been, at 12 guys, 12 forwards, the D-men. It's a pressure, skating, aggressive, execution with the puck, and that means north and fast and quick and getting to the offensive zone and being a smothering team with that skating ability. And over the last 5 games or so, again, it's been more consistent for 60 minutes. It's the game's never perfect, but when you can see it repeatedly over and over from your group, you're in the right direction.
Well, we see the guy up on the screen right now, Kaapo Kakko. You guys bring him in from the New York Rangers. I think he's one of these guys that really needed a change of scenery. He gets out there with you in Seattle. He's had some success so far. What do you make of his game?
Well, Kakko's, a guy going back World Championships when he was in his draft year, 1st or 2nd overall. He goes 2nd overall to the Rangers, and he's now been in a process of his career. It's not the easiest thing to do as an 18, 19, 20-year-old to establish yourself in the National Hockey League, both from what you can do and how you can play, but even getting a chance to step into a big role. And I think with the change of scenery for Kakko to us, it's been an opportunity for him to have a fresh start, get a good opportunity with some good players to establish his game. And he's, the first handful weren't the prettiest, I guess. It was a tough one in Chicago with the travel and getting there late night and playing the next day in the afternoon. But since then, with Matty Beniers, with Jaden Schwartz and that line, they've continued to be our best line going forward. And you just see the what kind of player he can be. He's a big body, can hold on to the puck in the offensive zone, create space for his line mates, and he's good and big around the net, which that means scoring goals, and that means making plays for guys in and around there. And it's the numbers are pretty impressive. What they've done in the last 10 games or so as a line.
And you mentioned one player there. I want to get to two players. Matty Beniers, this is going to be a cornerstone guy. And also you had Shane Wright and his development down in Coachella Valley. What have you seen from the progress for Shane Wright? You know him explicably from being down there a lot. And also you're starting to see Matty Beniers kind of turn the corner here, as you mentioned, the last 10 games, play some good hockey. How important is their development, and where are you seeing him tracking going forward?
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about the future of the Kraken. When you talk about Matty Beniers joining Chandler Stevenson and now Shane Wright as the centerman down the middle of the rink. It's such an important spot for a team, and the future is bright when you look at how Matty's developing. Chandler going to be there, and then Shane and coming along in his career. But Shane Wright, I think he's a great example of kind of what we, the plight and the difficulty of a young player. Drafted high. Was he going to go first overall? Where is he going to get drafted? He gets drafted fourth, but you're expected to step in the National Hockey League at 8 years old or 18 years old and have an impact. And that's not the easiest thing to do. You talk about me being able to coach him the last couple of years. Last year for him was a chance to come down to Coachella Valley, the American Hockey League, a tough place to play, a hard league, but one you can just put your head down in and work on developing your game, work on rounding out your game, and grow into being a man. And he did a great job of that. It wasn't a perfect year for him in any stretch of the imagination, but you see over the course of the 72 games in the American Hockey League and the playoffs that we got to play in, you're growing into seeing him being able to skate with the puck and play with the puck and make plays with the puck and get his shot off. And really one of the biggest moments for me was playoffs, the semifinals. We're playing against Milwaukee. He gets a puck along the wall, carries it all the way up the ice, cuts the middle of the rink, shakes the defenseman, scores a great shot goal. And everybody in the building and everybody on the bench is like, that's a fourth overall pick. That's what a fourth overall pick can do. And Shane's he's continuing in that development. He's now 20 years old and playing his first full year in the National Hockey League. And that means you got to get into the rigors of the National Hockey League. You're playing against seasoned veterans. You're playing against men, and you got to develop in that. And it's been a bumpy year a little bit in times for Shane, but you see him coming to training camp. He had a great training camp. Really showed off his skill and what he could do in training camp, and that continued for the start of the season. Gets in the bumps and the rigors of the NHL season, 15, 20 games into it, and there was a dip in his game and a dip in his mindset, and we took a reset, had a few games off, and we're back in the process of developing that game, as he's continuing to go forward. And at the end of the year right now, he's looking at having 15 to 18 goals and having 35 to 40 points. That's going to be a great development year for Shane Wright.
Yeah, it is funny because after you guys, sent him up to the press box for a couple of games, he came back and played great. I did one of the games you guys played against the Rangers. He was very noticeable at Madison Square Garden. You can see he's feeling more like he's comfortable at that level. So the development continues. I'll ask you about your goaltender, Joey Daccord, because he's one of these. I always feel like, and you tell me, Dan, you coach in this league. I just think when you have a guy that you can really rely on like that, it makes your life a lot easier because it keeps you in games when things aren't going as well. I think he's been really terrific. And one thing that he does extremely well, Kevin Weeks and I were calling, I think, a game of yours a couple of weeks ago, and he just comes out, handles. I thought he was going to start skating up the ice with it. He handles the puck really well.
He wants to. He wants to.
Turn him loose, Dan. Turn him loose.
He's trying to get the rules changed so he can carry it over center. But Joey's another guy. We talk about Shane Wright and watching him develop. Joey's another guy that I've been fortunate enough to see his career develop over the last 3 years. Coached him in Charlotte in the American Hockey League. And, lots of conversation with him about how he can, grow to being an everyday, to being a dependable guy in the National Hockey League. And, that's happened over that year in Charlotte, and then the year in CV where he played a ton of hockey for us, playoffs, played 26 games in a row in the playoffs, and was just the guy for us in the net. And last year, he established himself as a regular NHLer, and he does it with a flair, and he does it with a, he's always has the feel of a go-to guy. He's got that energy. It's exuberant, and it comes out in him playing the puck a lot, which he's extremely good at. But he's grown into being a go-to guy for our team, a guy that's he's going to be in the net for us and give us a chance to win each and every night, can be a difference maker.
All right, let's ask about the progress of Dan Bylsma as a coach. We always talk about the development, and you had early success and continued on. There it is. There's the wear.
Congratulations.
There's the wear and tear. And you go down to Coachella Valley and get into the finals a couple of years in a row. Yep. But as a player develops, I guess coaches also have to change and develop without the times. If you look back at the start of your coaching career till now, what are the major changes that you've seen in yourself and ability to adapt as you are seen there hoisting the cup with the Penguins?
Yeah, I think, just from a structural standpoint, I think the game's always changing. The game is always changing. There's different nuances to the game. The game changed in the time I was in Pittsburgh, and some of the things we had to adapt to. But I'm less black and white about the structure of the game. I'll say I've grown that it's not necessarily it's not black and white. It's more, there's more emotion. There's more how your team's feeling, how players are feeling, to get the most out of the team and most out of the players. And I've grown in that regard for sure. But what I guess reminded of going back to Coachella and being a head coach in the American Hockey League, just I love the energy, and I love the passion of coaching players and coaching them to be at their best individually, and the team to be at their best. And let's just say I'm renewed in that aspect, and one I'm 100% sure I'm going to bring this time around and this opportunity in the National Hockey League with Seattle. All
right, Dan, before I let you go, got to ask you, how's the fishing out there in the Pacific Northwest? I mean, I would imagine it's good, but you're the expert.
It is. I haven't got to it yet. I'll just say it's excellent. There's lots of opportunities. It's beautiful out here. Seattle's a awesome place, both from a hockey standpoint, but a nature standpoint. It's beautiful out here. We got tons of water, tons of mountains, and I'm hoping to get to it. Eej, I'll say that. I'm hoping to get to it.
You'll get to it. I have every confidence you'll get it. You're busy. You're busy right now. I mean, this is a tough season. There's a lot going on. So, listen, welcome back. I'm glad to see you're back at the National Hockey League. Continued good luck and success there in Seattle, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right. Dan Bylsma, coach of the Seattle Kraken. When we come back, Steve Kouleas will join us, and we'll talk a little bit about that guy, Logan Thompson. He has been scorching. That's next on First Shift.
From live play-by-play to your favorite game day anthems and the biggest sports podcasts in the world, the iHeartRadio app lets you take it all with you wherever you go. Download the free iHeartRadio app today.
Here is a tweet from Stephen Ellis talking about the Four Nations. Since Canada's roster was announced for the Four Nations face-off, Capitals goalie Logan Thompson has posted a pretty good 12-1-1 record with a .938 save percentage and an 18 goals saved above expected mark. Only Hellebuck has more wins. Thompson is first in everything else. And with that, we bring in our guy. We see him every Wednesdays here, Steve Kouleas from NHL Network Radio. And Cooley, Thompson has, I don't know if he's using this as kind of a chip on his shoulder to play very well. It's been a great year for the Capitals, and he has been excellent. But when you think about this Four Nations and the guys that maybe didn't make Team Canada, are there other guys we should have maybe be watching and saying, wow, this guy has really turned it up?
Well, there's a few players like that, and you showed the Logan Thompson numbers. Remember, he's UFA at the end of the year. He's making $766K. That's a reason for motivation. He's got 2 regulation and winning the Stanley Cup because he was part of the Vegas team, but wasn't the goalie of record when we go back to his Vegas days. And statistically, he's the second best goalie in the league right now. Yeah. Money Puck has him at number 1, but Hellebuck's had a better year, and nothing wrong with being number 2. The question with the Four Nations is they named all these players so early. You wonder if Thompson is Canada's best option. What happens? Mark Scheifele has 27 goals. He's tied with Brayden Point at 28 in terms of goals as Sam Reinhart. So you wonder about guys like that, if we would do a makeover or if the teams were announced a bit later. Now, I know on the American side, Kreider, Nelson, Trocheck all bring different things and kills penalties. But, if a Boldy got hurt or a Kyle Connor, I look at Tage Thompson, play center or the wing, and you want to have as many players that can score. It's going to be fun, exciting tournament, but these guys are going to play good defense. Traditionally, look at the scores. If you go back to Vancouver, 1-0 Canada and USA. Yep. Jamie Benn, the deflection goal in 2014. So given the one moment, a Caulfield can score, a Scheifele can score, and I don't know why we named the team so early, gentlemen. You imagine if Scheifele leads Canada in goals and Thompson's the best option and they're both not on the squad. Just something to think about inside our discussion room, EJ.
There you go.
All right, Cooley, then. You're GM. All of a sudden, you got promoted. We're naming the teams late. What changes you making? Who you going with?
I love that.
Make some changes for me.
I drop Montembeault and add Thompson.
Okay.
I drop Jarvis and add Scheifele. Yeah. And I'm going to honestly, Nelson is the 13th forward on so many other line combinations for other people. Since Thompson can play center, what if a guy up top gets hurt offensively who can provide more? I probably would drop Nelson and add, in my opinion, Thompson now. Those types of changes I would do on each North American roster.
How about John Carlson? I'm a big John Carlson guy. I don't know why he was not put on the team originally. I think I do know why, actually, because I think they took Fox and McAvoy as part of that first 6. And so that created a little bit of a logjam for right shot defensemen. But I'd have Carlson in the way it's gone this year.
I had him like you. I think when we had the teams, I had him as my 7. And you look at the way he's playing, what he's done. I think sometimes we underestimate when you're in. There's tiers of guys who are all captains and leaders and everything else. Been there, done that. 2010, winning gold, of course, going back to the World Juniors. And I think at one moment, there's times when games are on the line. We talk about like a Joe Pavelski. He almost beat Luongo, or the whole narrative, gentlemen, would have changed in 2010. And we talk about guys like that who've been there and done that before. They love the kids. The game is faster now. I wouldn't be against EJ that move either.
What about Tom Wilson and the Washington game? We're throwing some capital names out there. Hit the 20-goal mark again.
If this was a 14-forward list with a few more games, imagine a Wilson-Tkachuk showdown in Montreal at the Bell Center. Or if it was a 2 out of 3. For those who remember the 96 World Cup, it was vicious. Yeah. If it was like that, Wilson is on, he's playing. And to me, it'd be great if they lined up and said, well, Brady would do it. I don't think Matthew picks his fight. But a Wilson versus Brady matchup, ding, ding, ding. That would be the price of admission if we had a 2 out of 3 final, guys.
Yeah, well, we're talking about Logan Thompson. They had a great win last night. He was very good again against the Edmonton Oilers. I mean, I'll ask you the question I asked Billy before. I mean, do you think the Caps can go all the way? I mean, I look at it, they don't have any players going to the Four Nations, so these guys are going to be rested. I mean, they might make a deal or two if they need to moving forward. I mean, I think we might be overlooking the Caps. Maybe they can go all the way this year.
I didn't believe it at Canadian Thanksgiving, too early. U.S. Thanksgiving, I guess too early. But Spencer Carberry had pieces last year, and look what he did. This year, he got more toys. The Capitals have reinvented the Capitals retool, something St. Louis is trying to do right now, something the Penguins could only wish they could do. They had champions in Hershey in the cupboard. Then they went out boldly. The Kemper, Pierre-Luc Dubois trade, Matt Roy on the back end. Remember, Charlie Lindgren, they went and got him.
Yep.
Then they went, oh, we'll go and get Logan Thompson. I think the Capitals, as we sit here today, gentlemen, are the best team in the Eastern Conference. So if you're the best team in the East and you don't have to play Carolina, New Jersey in the first round, then why not Washington? And yesterday, they probably should have lost at even strength, 18-4 high danger. Oilers, even without McDavid, they kind of blew it. On the power play, 3 power plays, 0 high danger chances. Arvidsson made a bad drop pass. Skinner, I don't buy that screen. He could have stopped that puck. Bouchard, bad body positioning. Brett Kulak on the zone entry on the power play. He was too far to shooter's left or his own right shooter's left. So they kind of blew it. So you know what? Big deal. The Capitals don't play so good and they still win. I think the Capitals it's a sexy story as Ovi chases down Wayne, and not just for a Hank Aaron story now. Imagine in this year that he hits .895, the Capitals go back to the Cup final. Oh, baby, as a famous sportscaster once said.
So, Cooley, raise your hand if you had that at the start of the year. For myself personally, at the start of the year for the Washington Capitals and what happened last year, I thought this year was all going to be about the chase for Gretzky's record, about Alexander Ovechkin. I thought that was going to get Capital fans excited, the NHL excited. Not the actual team itself, but Ovechkin. How much does this inspire Ovechkin to kind of push him over the top, not only knowing the goal total with Gretzky is in reach, but maybe I got a chance to get my hands on the hardware again?
Oh, absolutely. I think that he already would have been motivated for his own individual status and place in the game anyway. But winning and scoring and setting records, that adds to this beautiful dish that is being created in Washington. Nobody had it. It's almost as if they're even better than Minnesota. People had the Caps like at 6th, like Minnesota at 6th. They battled through injuries there. And the Capitals and all the underlying numbers as well. Like this isn't by accident. This isn't a team like the Flyers last year or Detroit or the Capitals even last year that got to the playoffs but weren't ready for prime time. They're ready. If they were off Broadway last year, they're the main event this year for all the players that you talked about, and good for the homegrown talent and developing in the American League and winning. That has been huge, and it's been a recipe for regular season success with this group.
10 regulation
and
losses.
They got some stuff in the cupboard still coming.
Yeah, and that's where they got Ryan Leonard,
yes,
who will probably join him after his season in BC. They got Cole Hudson. I don't know if he's quite ready to come out yet, but I mean, they got players coming, to your point. So we'll see. I mean, 10 regulation losses in 47 games is pretty impressive.
And 2 of them on Logan Thompson.
Yeah, he's been good. Last thing, Cooley, quick, with McDavid, I know you've been talking about it a lot, I'm sure, on the radio show. Where do you fall on the 3-game suspension?
Well, I thought that the Myers thing was slightly worse considering it wasn't in game action. Remember when Coley ran the ship, he always talked about a hockey play or a bad play in the game as opposed to 1 steamboat, 2 steamboat. So it turns out he did get 2, and then his record of a fine and previous suspension came into play, speaking of Tom Wilson, and that made it 3, and then Myers got 3. So if McDavid was totally clean, it would have been 2 and 3 and scaled that way, but you add on past indiscretions to make what happened. The underlying numbers, though, on the Oilers' lack of power plays and the lack of calls against McDavid that we all kind of saw yesterday and the day before is very interesting. I think this was a shot across the jaw of Garland and a shot across the bow of the NHL to say this has to change a little bit. I have the puck too much, and our team, just because our power play is that good, doesn't mean we're like the 50s Hab or 80 Oilers that we change the rules for them, which we did, by the way, for you kids out there. So I think these numbers will change, and I think McDavid wanted to make a statement, and he kind of did. I think he'll draw a lot more penalties in the last 40% of the year than he did in the first 56 to 60.
Here, Coley, here's my last take, just quickly on it. You don't have to answer. Here's one way to solve it, to McDavid and be endeared. Drop your gloves, tackle Garland, throw some punches in the face. All of a sudden, not only do you not get suspended, you send the message to the league, and everyone on your bench goes, wow, everyone in Canada, Edmonton, U.S., watching hockey, Connor McDavid's fighting? What's wrong with this league? This shouldn't have to come to this. That's where I think Connor McDavid should have sent the message in a different way to avoid the 3-game suspension.
I'm not disagreeing with that. He did do that in Erie and broke a knuckle heading into the World Juniors. He did recover in time to be an unbelievable gold medalist in 2015. If there wasn't these 2 international events, maybe if Maybe if it was already over or he had already won a cup, he might do that. But I don't disagree with you, Billy, because the real thing out there is I'd rather drop him and handle it that way than using a stick. That is never the answer for anything.
Yeah, and it is the answer to getting suspended, and is what's happened in this particular situation. Cooley, thanks for the time, buddy. We'll talk to you next week.
Good. Kings win. They needed to be better last game at home. They will answer the bell for their fans and the community tonight.
You sure about that, huh?
Yeah, well.
You sure about that, Cooley?
All right. Billy,
Yes, Bill.
obviously Billy Lindsay disagrees, but we'll leave it at that for now. Thank you, Cooley. We'll talk to you next week. Coming up, JD has been he's been pretty good in 2025. I think he's 50% with his parlays, so we'll see how he does this week. Top line parlay with our guy JD. That's next on First Shift. It's time for the Top Line Parlay presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. And with that, we bring in our wonderful producer, J.D. Lindbergh, who is the master of the parlay here on First Shift. So what do you bring to the table today?
I'm going to try and keep the roll going. We're 1 for 2 in 2025, but I have not had the albatross that is EJ Radick
That's right.
on any of my top-line parlays thus far this year. So let's see what we got today. We're starting off with the Toronto Maple Leafs. This is a same-game parlay we're starting with.
Oh, wow.
So Matthews, Marner, Nylander, they've all been red hot. I need each of them to record 1 or more points tonight.
Okay.
And I feel pretty good about it because let's take a look at their last 4 games.
Okay.
These guys are cooking right now. Marner going at 2 points a night. Nylander 4 goals. Matthews 5 goals. I feel like we could maybe see that on 1 power play goal, you know?
And you get the Blue Jackets, as Bill Lindsay has pointed out. The Blue Jackets not as good on the road. And the game is at Toronto tonight.
And they tend to play high-scoring games, the Blue Jackets. Even win or lose, they could be 6-5.
Yeah,
either way.
There you go. So we like the start.
All right, we're off to a good start. We got 4 games on the slate, so why not touch all 4 games here? Let's go big here. Back to the big board. We got Boston and the Devils under in the first period. Under 1.5 goals, so we need fewer than 2 goals in the first period.
So you're looking 1-0, 0-0 in the first.
Exactly, Billy. And you know what? The Devils, the offense has not been good recently, and our boy Anthony Orza came up with this. Check it out. First period under 1.5 has hit in 9 of the Devils' last 11 games.
Wow.
33 first period goals. That's 3rd worst in the NHL. They do not score a lot. However, they don't give up a lot of shots in the first period either.
Okay.
So for all those reasons, we sort of like the Devils and the Bruins to go under in the first period.
First of all, thank you to Anthony AO, getting the job done. Very nice there with those stats. I would say also you got another thing going for you which you didn't even think about. They're honoring Jacques Lemaire tonight. And what better way would the team honor Jacques Lemaire than playing a scoreless first period against the Bruins tonight at home. So we'll see how that plays out, but I think it's a bold move by you.
Also, the Bruins, no Trent Frederick tonight. Not that he's been having a great season, but you know that's another cog out of the machine for the Bruins. Koepke will not be in the lineup for the Bruins.
Wow.
So it's tough times on Causeway Street.
I'll tell you, when you're worried about the offensive production from Frederick and Koepke, boy, I'll tell you. Times are tough.
That is a sign of where things are.
You're packing the car. I don't know where you're packing that car with that team right now.
They're double parked.
Yeah, they are. No wheels. All right. What do you got?
Wheels on the bus.
All right.
We'll keep the bus rolling here.
Yes.
Winnipeg, Colorado. We like a goal in the first 10 minutes in this one. These 2 teams played barn burners recently. Colorado, their last time out on January 11th, they allowed a goal just 1:08 into the game against the Jets. And let's take a look at their first periods this season. The Jets, pretty good in the first period, tied for the 4th best goal differential. They've scored 45 first period goals. The Avs give up a ton in the first period, 55 goals against. They have what is that, 2nd or 3rd worst? I can't do math.
Yeah,
Anthony's
it's like 3rd worst, right?
So
32, 31.
Yeah.
They're tied for 30th. So
it's
I don't
like
even...
checking IDs when you have to count the year or something.
Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah, it's not great. All right, we got to move this thing along, though. So, Sterno, let's get right back to the big board here. LA Kings against the Florida Panthers. Billy, sorry to do it to you, babe, but the Kings are awesome at home. I like the Kings' first period puck line. They got to come out of the first period with a lead. take a look at these home stats for the LA Kings. 14-3-1 out at Staples Center or Crypto.com or wherever. Kings are going to be fired up playing at LA tonight, honoring some first responders out there with the devastating fires. But this team dynamite at home. So, Billy, your Cats can still win the game, but just take it easy on me in the first period, all right?
Okay.
Try to make the Shifties a little dough.
Lay it low. The Panthers usually low. That could be a low-scoring game all around.
Yeah.
With those two teams, and you're right, LA is very good at home, and the Panthers on back-to-back. But Paul Maurice emphasized they've got some back-to-backs on this road trip, and he said his team's been very good, and that's where he's going to see the mentality and the toughness of this team. This is where he wants to see it, is on these back-to-back games. The Panthers will be prepared, but going up a tough challenge. Back to that Winnipeg bet. Just one thought on Colorado. Winnipeg has beaten Colorado a couple of times this year. They have scored both times within the first 70 seconds in both games against Colorado.
Yeah, okay.
So
Well,
if you're looking for that early goal, it's trending that way.
He's hoping for it. He's hoping for it.
Need the Kings to come out with the lead here.
Okay.
That's all.
That's it?
Your Cats can do whatever they want after that, but I need a slow start from the Cats.
What else? Is that it? Is that the whole parlay, or you got one more?
That's the whole parlay.
That's a lot.
That's a lot,
it's 4 legs, EJ. What do you want from
What's
me?
the total on that?
Let's see Font 2 again, Sterno.
Yeah, let's see.
The
Let's
total bet
put it
here
all
is
up.
plus 1561, so a $10 bet would pay you $166 US.
I'll tell you what. I mean, it's a lot to happen to get $1.66. I mean, I think that should be a little. I mean, you got to have a bunch of things happen there. I'd like to see a better return. I'm not ripping you for that. I'm just saying I wish that. I think the odds should be longer.
Take it easy on the good folks over at DraftKings who love to sponsor the First Shift podcast, and we appreciate you guys over there,
Well, we
too.
do.
Sterno, let's get to break before EJ gets us into any more
And
trouble.
another thing.
You know what? Hey, it's been a wild weather week here.
Yes,
Billy,
it has.
we talked about it off the top. Some snow in unfamiliar places. We're used to seeing scenes like this in cold weather, but we saw some outdoor hockey at a place you wouldn't expect. That's next.
DraftKings Sportsbook is an official sports betting partner of the NHL. And this week, new customers can bet $5 and pocket $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins. Download the app and use promo code FLY when you sign up. DraftKings Sportsbook. The crown is yours.
Now, it's not often that I can bring up a tweet from our good buddy over there at ESPN, NBA insider Shams. You see him right there. NBA has postponed Bucks-Pelicans game tonight due to a snowstorm in New Orleans. And we saw this on social media last night. This is the streets of New Orleans. What the heck is going on, Billy Lindsay?
Whoever thought we'd see this in New Orleans? Skating up and down the street playing ice hockey. Kid's pretty good, by the way.
And
He can stick handle.
I think Dan Craig was putting that ice together. That looked good.
Yeah, someone should sign him out of New Orleans.
Can we see it again?
First kid ever
I'd
out
like
of
to
New
see
Orleans.
that tape again one more time. If we can. Maybe we can. I don't know. But
it looked good.
It looked really good.
Yeah, there's some beautiful pictures of snow.
Yeah, there it is.
Of New Orleans.
Look at that.
It's kind of magical to see that city under snow. You're never going to see this again.
I
Maybe.
think that's Mike Johnson. What would he be doing in New Orleans? I don't know.
Johnny's everywhere.
He's a right shot.
Where's
Looks like.
Waldo?
Boy, that's crazy that there's ice like that in New Orleans.
Yes, it is.
All right.
Just like you, crazy.
It's pretty soon. Florida Keys under snow. I don't think so.
No advisory.
All right, let's get out of here, Billy. NHL Now coming up next. Thanks, Billy. Always good to be with you.
Nice to be with you.
Nice to be with you.